Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the season 4 of the Speaking Council podcast. My name is Jackson Prelli, and I'm one of your co-hosts this season, as well as the social media manager and the podcast producer. Joining me on the hosting side today, we have Madeline Grossi, who is our podcast administrator. And I will throw it over to Madeline to introduce our guest on the podcast today.
Thanks, Jackson. So, very familiar face if any of you have been following along with the podcast, at least for the season before this and a few before. But we hope you recognize him. If not, he is Will Ord. He graduated from the SPIMA program last April and jumped into working with the Toronto Blue Jays as a sales and service representative. Shortly after, he obtained a new role within the Jays organization as the philanthropy coordinator for the Jays Care Foundation. Not to mention, he was also the host of the SPIMA Council podcast for 3 years before graduating. We are pleased to welcome Will back as the 15th guest here on season 4 of the SPIMA Council podcast.
Howdy, Jackson. How's it going? Damn, it feels good to be back. I've been waiting for this for a while, and the old saying goes, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. Like it's been kind of it's been kind of odd, not having this almost every week. Like this basically was a huge integral part of my university experience at Brock, and I'm both excited to be on, but my God, being a guest on a podcast that you've been with since the 3rd episode of season 1, that ages you a bit. The gray hairs aren't showing, thank the Lord. But it's honestly wonderful. It's wonderful to be back. I hope I can provide some good points to those that have listened. It should be a great time to remark about the experiences I've had, and take a nice trip down Nostalgia Avenue. So it should be a wonderful episode.
Yeah, well, Jackson and I are so excited to have you back. We were just waiting a little bit longer to invite you. We had to let people,
wait.
Yeah, I know. We had to let you be gone for a little while, but we'll jump right.
Patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. So
exactly, yes. So we'll jump right into the first question here. So, as mentioned, you graduated in April. So, what are some positives and negatives since graduating and jumping right into the sport industry?
Good question, and I'll try to keep this succinct. But one positive, other than the Rogers Center / Skydome being my office, which is something else. Like, it's not your typical office tower. You're walking in, it's like, oh, I'm working in a baseball stadium, which currently is a giant construction zone now due to the renos, but phase 1 is supposed to finish up soon in time for opening night at home on April 11th. I believe it's April 11th. If I get that date wrong, everyone just roast me in the comments. I'm pretty sure it's April 11th though. But other than that niche thing, being with folks that have the same passion as I do, and are willing to help my career development, and in turn I try to reciprocate the same thing. Everyone is driven, everyone is united towards a common goal, and coming from different backgrounds. Sure, there are some folks that before they joined the organization were Blue Jays fans, but and there are some folks that are not. But regardless, that sort of, if that sort of fandom sort of goes out the window, because people know they have a job to do, and they do it well. And just seeing how folks operate in the organization provides a great resource for me to see, okay, what's this person doing well? Can I apply it to my work? And just and again, the other thing is just interacting with people and seeing things pay off in ticketing and with philanthropy. You're talking to people. Although one side is commercial based, and the other side you're talking to donors. But you get to talk to a lot of people that that in the case of Jay's Care donate for a number of reasons, and you get to hear their stories, and it's just wonderful. And also challenging yourself through responsibilities that you may have not expected or encountered before. That every day that puts you to the test. Like, I've got a couple project briefs and presentations that are going on, and I didn't really have I didn't before joining Jay's Care. Those are some of the things, especially project briefs, that I've never really done. So it was a great way. It's a great way to expand my skill set and test my built up base of knowledge that I've gathered. Negatives, I don't really like the word negatives. I'll frame it more like adjustments. Managing life. Like, it's a corny thing to say, but you're working for 8 hours. Okay, how do you structure the other how do you structure the other 8? You can't really get caught up into work 24/7. So how do you counteract that? How do you move it, put in time to get fit? How do you put in time to see your mates and make your life meaningful? How do you make time for entertainment, whether it's going to the movies, watching a Leaf game, and so on and so forth? Because with school, your day ended at a certain time. You were going back to roommates, and you're making plans there. You're making plans there. But now, since every day is different in any way, shape, form, you might come home tired, or you might come home you might come home with still a lot of energy. So that's another thing that slowly I've tried to manage, but it's no easy tasks. And the name of the game is just pacing yourself and making sure you're taking care of yourself as well.
No, for sure. So, two things. You are right on the Jays home opener. I did do a quick Google search just to be sure.
Oh, thank the Lord.
I thought you wanted to know. I didn't want to keep you waiting on that one. And then as well, so you did talk about a little bit about your roles, but could you go a little bit more in depth about like your two different roles as like the sales and service representative, and as well as the philanthropy coordinator?
Yeah, so in May I joined the ticketing team as a sales and service rep, which has now evolved into the Sales and Service Academy. It was launched a couple of days ago by folks there, and my former boss. So ticketing was quite interesting, because I was literally selling everything under the sun. Season tickets, quarter season or 20 game packs, ticket packs, or some organizations refer those as flex packs, single game tickets, 400 level 400 level boxes. We call them rooms. And niche things such as accessible parking for those that have a disability and need to access those in order to enter the stadium. The only thing I didn't really touch was 300 level suites. Those were handled by the premium team, although I did get select suite leads and I'd pass them on there. But you'd be handling calls and especially when things were busy. My God, like playoff tickets when they went live, we were put on hold. We put ourselves on hold for 10 minutes before they came live. And right at 10 o'clock, I didn't get off the phone I didn't get off the phone until like an hour and a half, hour and 45. It was that it got that busy sometimes, but that was great to handle all those. Got to participate in my first sales campaign, where as a team, we were able to generate gross revenue of, I think, over $1 million in the month of September, and in season ticket and quarter season ticket revenue. So that was cool, and we got a nice little reward at the end, to dinner at the CN Tower, which was pretty awesome. And then I'd work games too. So I'd be at a sales booth at Gate 8, which is right behind Section 120 at the Rogers Center, and or I would be doing what's called rooms checks. So I'd be going into a collection of rooms that were sold that day, and I would just make sure that everything is in working order. Like simple things like, okay, is like when you go into the washer, are the sinks working, are the toilets working, is the furniture in good shape, are the seats in good shape, is there any loose garbage on the floor, do we need to call in from a cleanup from maintenance, that sort of thing, just to make sure when fans went into those seats, into those suites, that they were going to have a seamless experience, and it looked as professional and as possible. So that was most of the things I was doing there. But moving on to the philanthropy coordinator, it's similar-ish, because I am managing a certain product, but this time it's in the nonprofit sphere with donations. So we have a bunch of softwares that we use to monitor donation activity. So I'm in charge of those, monitoring donations, putting them into a tracker, and then if it requires it, doing research on folks that donated, especially if we are going to call them to thank them for their donation. It's a little thing called donor stewardship that we do, just to ensure that we're acknowledging your donation, we're thanking you, and here's what impacts it can bring to level the playing field across Canada. If it's at certain amounts, then I might elevate the donation to either corporate partner, our partnerships and events team, or up to upper management within the philanthropy team, so they can steward those donors effectively. I create dashboards that reflect a month's activity, to see where are the trends, where are we getting these donations from, who's major contributors, who's trending up, that sort of thing. And then also leading sales campaigns. So right now I'm planning, I'm in the planning process to lead the 2023 video board campaign. So that's the happy birthday and happy anniversary messages that appear on the video board at the Rogers Center. And I was part of co-leading a Giving Tuesday campaign back in November, as part of a mass outreach to get the Jays Care brand and our mission and who we support out to the maximum amount of people possible. So lots of things on the go with that role. Again, every day is different, but those are the things that I encounter as the coordinator of philanthropy with Jays Care.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I can definitely attest a little bit to those, to what you were talking about there about sales, because I worked in sales this summer, and sometimes it was slower and sometimes it was faster, and especially, like what you said for yourself, when playoffs went on sale, tickets sold out and the phones were jammed. Similar in my situation, like when Serena Williams announced that it was her last match, I didn't get off the phone that entire day. We had people backed up on the key the entire day. It was the most stressful, but like
Yep.
so much fun and such a good experience
Yep.
too. So
Yep, that's how it goes.
yeah. So I mean, we know you went to Brock, and you're a SPIMA grad as well, and already you're having some great experience in the industry. So if you could go back to your first year self, what advice would you give yourself now that you're graduated and that you're in the industry?
I mean, hindsight's 2020, obviously, but you know, um, I would say just make sure to start as make sure to start as make sure to to keep getting involved in things that interest you, and realize that at this point you've got time. You've got time. Like it is so easy to go into a networking event, and you see folks that are widely successful in the industry, like within X amount of years they're VP of something, president of some of this company, and it can be intimidating, because like you're wondering, geez, well, even like, is it even realistic to have that level of success? Like, am I cut out for this? But you can't really get caught up with that. Like everyone has their own process. Everyone has their own pace. It doesn't mean that they should be belittled by it, right? Like, if you told me last year that I'd be in this spot, I'd be saying, first off, great, but like I was originally hoping to be within the Jays for the next few years, let alone like be in interviews, and then get hired by the Jays, and then move full time to Jays Care. But just run your own race, and focus on your process. If some things are working, that and you're doing it repetitively, and you're collecting those wins, keep going, because something's working. So keep going, make note of it, and like bring the hammer down, because you've obviously cracked a formula that has unlocked opportunity, that has helped you unlock opportunities, and help you get in the good books of folks, whether it be industry professionals and or fellow students. And if things aren't working, then reach out. Like the misconception is that like it can be intimidating to reach out to people, when in reality, like a good majority of people are good people. Like I get at some points the world has gone kind of gloomy and gray, but you got to believe that there's good people out there that are willing to help. So send a message on LinkedIn, send them a DM, email them, and if even if for like 10 or 15 minutes, like just ask for help. And usually people people are willing to are willing to contribute. And especially me, I believe I have a duty to pay it forward. Like so many folks that I've interacted with, especially whether it be on the podcast or just random chats, have provided me with a plethora of knowledge. And since I'm in this position now, and again, I haven't been with the organization for a full year yet, but I'd like to think that I can provide at least a pointer or two advice that could help folks. So I'm all about giving back and helping folks in when I can. So that's what I'd say to your first to yourself, and also just enjoy the campus, because it's one of the most beautiful campuses in Ontario. Am I biased? Yes.
Okay to be biased. No, definitely. You gave some good advice. Definitely take it slow. Go at your own pace. Don't be scared that somebody else is doing this and someone else is doing this. Because
exactly,
it's gonna work out in the end. Like I remember first year, I'm seeing people do this, this, and this, and I'm panicking. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're so far ahead of me. But eventually, you can catch up. There's always time to catch up. And again,
no one's ahead of anyone. That's another misconception. No, like just because someone landed a great internship with a multi-million-dollar organization doesn't mean that they're twice as ahead of people as me. Like working for small organizations is great. Like I interned with the Niagara River Lines, and man, like working for them, where I had to, like, you're wearing so many hats. Whether it's selling, creating partnership proposals, going to events, even being a mascot handler, right? You get all those skills that equip you for the better down the line. And I can't thank the folks there enough. So just go at your own pace. If you have a process that works, stick to it. And if you need some work, that's okay. No one's perfect. Please ask for help. There's a lot of people that are willing to help you achieve your dreams.
No, for sure. And then, as we talked to you about before, we did kind of switch up the format a little bit. So now we're going to kind of transition into like our real life sports talk a little bit. So, not many people know. I would argue that you are still our number one fan.
Absolutely.
Maddie can attest. Normally, other than my parents, who will be watching this episode, hopefully,
yeah,
you are the only other person to text me after every episode saying,
"Yeah, that is true."
Giving us some pointers, so we appreciate it. So, since leaving the podcast team, what has been your favorite episode this season?
That's a tough one. That is a tough one. I have a couple. Obviously, the kickoff one with Shulman was huge. I mean, anytime you get a podcast, an announcer of his caliber on the show, that is truly something else. And that was just a great episode to listen to, given what he's experienced doing play-by-play for decades and decades with both ESPN and the Blue Jays. But I also found your episode with TJ Manisterski to be really interesting. Like that's a coach that gets it. That's a coach that's smart, and the fact that he is publicly saying I want to be connected to the student body is awesome. Like, in my opinion, he's creating a culture that was building slowly when I got here, when Marty Williamson was head coach, and later Kevin Forrest on interim basis. But now that you have the new arena, which I went to on Saturday, and God, it's beautiful. It is so beautiful. You guys have no idea how lucky you are. And now that there's all these now that there's all these that there's a Brock TV documentary going on, shout out Neville, you're killing it, my man.
I was gonna say Neville gets a shout out there for Shulman and for the
exactly
documentary at the hockey game.
Exactly, but being that open and showcase and being that open and acting and representing Brock hockey that well, like that was the potential of that Brock hockey could be and is now showing it full circle. Like on Saturday's game, there was like 500 to 600 people there for seniors night, maybe more. I could be wrong in the attendance, but maybe more. It was packed, and it's just awesome to see that team. That team gets so much support because hockey had the potential to be the clear-cut number one sport at the university, and now it is by a wide margin. And both men's and women's hockey, by the way. Let's not discount the fact that the women are defending OUA champions and gained a berth at nationals last year. So both teams are doing well in an accessible environment that students can go to, and it's just awesome to see as an individual who worked for both teams in second and fourth year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely love that facility over there, and it's convenient for students. I mean, it's a lot closer. It's on campus. You can go there, if you're bored, it's more accessible. So
I don't have to take two buses to get to the game.
Yes, exactly. So especially for me, it's a stone throw away. I just take 50 steps and I'm already there. So it's awesome to have that facility, and I mean, shout out to some other Brock sports teams too. I mean, Brock has been on the rise the last few years with their sports teams, and I get to work some of them, and it's just so fun being in the atmosphere. Like every time I'm at a game and they announce the starting lineup of the players, like it just gives me chills. It's something about it that I just love. I don't even know the people. I say hi to them, but just hearing their name and hearing them introduce them is so cool. But I imagine you've already had some pretty memorable moments at the Jays, Will. So could you maybe pinpoint one that you've had so far?
I'm gonna go like off the board here, and saying that, oh, I helped lead this project, or oh, I hit this goal, is too easy of an answer. So I'm gonna give you one that happened in, I can't remember when the game was. It was like either June or July, and I was working the game, and when gates opened, I was walking to gate to gate 8, and I found a stray baseball that was probably hit in the batting practice, and I picked it up because usually what I do, and it doesn't really happen often, like I only maybe a couple times, is if I find a baseball, I want to see if I can find a person who it looks like it's their first game, or could be a new fan, and I seek to give it to that person, and I'll explain why in just a second. But I find this family who had, and it was a young kid that was this first game. I don't know, but I have the ball, and I approach them, and I say, excuse me, sorry to interrupt, but would you like this baseball? I just got it from batting practice. The smile on the kid's face was unreal. The mom was just saying thank you, and I said no problem. Enjoy the rest of the ball game. Go Blue Jays. And I thought that was the end of it. But cut to like half an hour before first pitch, and I'm not too sure about this, but I think if you use this a certain hashtag or tag the Blue Jays when you're at the Rogers Center, they put some photos up on the they put photos up on the video board. So they're scrolling through, and I'm just looking up, and sure enough, there's that same kid holding the base, that same kid that I gave the ball to, holding the baseball, still with the biggest smile ever, and I'm just like, that's great. That's great. Like that's a fan. I'm just like, you might have just made a fan for life there, because when you go to sports events for the first time, like unless like you're really into it, and you're really into those details. Like I can for some reason I can remember the goal scorers, every goal scorer of my first ever Leafs game in 2007 versus the Philadelphia Flyers. Spoiler alert: Ian White, Hal Gill, and Brian McCabe in overtime, in that order, all from the point. But most people might not remember the score, but they will remember. We will remember intangible moments, like getting a great snack from the concession stands, like hearing the cheers of the crowd, getting a souvenir, and I tend to think that will that person remember the score? Maybe not, but he will remember getting that baseball, and that is what we are all about. We aim to create a best in class experience that makes people think positively about us and want to contribute again and again and again. In the case of the Jays, it's delivering it. In the case of ticketing, it's delivering a best in class experience from first interaction to purchase, and hope and creating an impression that they're gonna buy again. And with Jays Care, it's making sure we're establishing our brand, our vision, our values, and meaningful examples that will connect with people on email outreach and in calls, especially in calls, to motivate them to maybe if they give annually, maybe up that gift or become a monthly donor, or if they're a business, maybe partner with us or give a major gift. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what it's all about. It is totally beyond the score. It is totally beyond the field of play. It is about making positive impressions, making memories, and making people, both fans and consumers, for life.
No, for sure. And then I'm glad you brought up the Leafs, because our last and final question, as we know, you are a big Leafs fan. So I want your realistic Leaf prediction for what's going to happen for the rest of the season.
Well, they've known who they're gonna face in the playoffs since early November, and it's at a weird spot, because there's a good portion of the fan base that's angry, but for some reason, even though every loss seems like a referendum, they've actually decreased the amount of goals goals they give up per game on average. Even though people are like, oh, they need defense. What I'm hoping that they do at the deadline is they add more depth to their wingers. And if they make the right offer to a top six player like Timo Meier or Travis Konecny, or even take a flyer on Connor Garland, or dare I say it, Brock Besser from Vancouver, that would put them over the top, because the issue hasn't been defense in elimination games. It's goal scoring, and if you look at the past, couple years, defense is the easy answer. But if you look at the number of goals scored, then the proof is in the pudding, as they say. And the playoffs in a nutshell are you can't nail down a prediction. Like Boston is at a historic.
Oh yeah, you can. The Leafs will be in the final.
Boston is at a historic pace. But the last time the last time that was said about the team was the Lightning, and for some reason they got knocked out in 4 against Columbus. So you can't really predict anything, but I remain hopeful that they'll at least go the first. We'll see. We'll see. They've been fine this year. I haven't had many issues other than the fact that, you know, some of their forward depth needs that upgrade to push them to the next level. But, you know, we'll see. I remain conservative because I'm evaluating them like, can they be the contenders? And the answer right now is yes, but it would be very helpful if they added that extra push at the deadline. So we will see. Again, I'm hopeful that they will win a round. But in order to do that, they need something that they haven't had in quite some time: sheer dumb luck. Because ultimately, that occurs in the right place at the right time, whether it's through team play or just something that just happens out of the blue, and they just need a bit of old as Gardner McDougall put it in his Memorial Cup press conference, a bit of good old momentum to come their way. So I remain hopeful that they wing around, but we will see as the season goes on towards a trade deadline.
It's funny. My parents are going on a vacation in May, and they're going with my dad's brother and his wife. And my dad's brother keeps like calculating the time, going like, okay, so if we get back on this day and the Leafs are in the second round, that means we can go here. And he's like planning out the whole trip and trying to figure out what games they'll miss and what games they'll see, because he's a huge Leaf fan too. So it's funny to hear. But Will, we've had a great talk here today. Jackson and I are so pleased that you were able to join, especially the two of us back here on the podcast. And this used to be common for us to see each other all the time, but now Jackson and I we see each other every week, and it's nice to see a new face every once in a while. So we thank you for joining us. It was awesome to hear about your experience so far. But as always, like we did in previous years, we want to give you the last word, a short last word for our listeners. So on behalf of Jackson and I and SPEMA Council Podcast, we thank you for joining us. We're so glad to have you back, and the final word is yours.
Well, thank you for having me on. This was wonderful. I missed this so much. It was awesome to catch up with you and recap the crazy months that has been after graduation, and it's just been awesome to be on and catch up with you guys. And I hope that that people can listen to this and grab a lot of things from this, or even one or two. So I am forever grateful for you folks inviting me on, and thank you so much.
No problem. It's always a pleasure, Will.
Always a pleasure. See you later.
Stay classy.